This week, we have Andre Ward versus Sergey Kovalev. And right now, joining us is a special boxing correspondent. He has the #1 channel on YouTube, and he joins us at a perfect time. We have Marcos Villegas.
Walking in right here. Walking in.
Perfect timing.
Like the NWO, like that.
Perfect time, Marcos. How you doing?
What's up, man? How's it going, kid?
Well,
Good to see you, bro.
We just wrapped up the UFC 205. Did you have any thoughts on that? Anything lasting that you left with after watching the card?
You know, I told everybody in the build-up to that fight that Alvarez was a nightmare matchup. Let me reverse that. Conor was a nightmare matchup for Alvarez coming into that fight. And I based it because I've seen a lot of Eddie Alvarez when he was in Bellator and the fights that he had with Chandler, the trilogy fights that he had, and then even in the other fights that he's had in the UFC. The dude gets hit and he gets hurt a lot. And I knew Conor's very, very accurate, and you get a guy with his timing and his high acumen in boxing. It was just a nightmare. Well, I looked at it as like, whoa, that's the easiest path to a title that Conor has at that division.
Even with Eddie's wrestling.
Even with Eddie's wrestling, because when push comes to shove, when Eddie gets hit and he gets dropped like that, his natural instinct comes out and he wants to scrap. You've seen it on these fights. When Chandler would knock him down, he would get back up and want to fight like he sees red. And that's what he did in that fight. When he got tagged, he lost his game plan. He lost his composure. He stopped with the leg kicks. And he was just standing there, and it turned into a boxing fight. And he got picked apart. He got picked apart. So it didn't surprise me at all. A lot of people were saying, Eddie's going to out-wrestle this guy. He's going to grind him. He's going to take him down. It's going to be no contest. It's going to be an easy fight. And the one thing that I would tell people is like, no, Eddie's going to get hurt. He always gets hurt. He's going to get clipped. But this time he's going to get clipped with the guy that's very, very accurate. And it's going to be the end of it. So when it happened, I wasn't surprised. But I think it was the easiest path for him to win a title. If it would have been RDA, it would have been a lot tougher fight.
So you had Conor winning easily in that
I told
fight.
everybody. My Conor's going to knock him out.
What do you think is next? He was talking to Woodley and sized him up a bit backstage.
That's crazy talk, man. There's no way. You got a guy that weighs, I have to say he weighs like 200 pounds when he's not cutting. And you have him cutting to 170, and then you have Conor wanting to go up and fight a guy that's going to outweigh him by 35 pounds.
But don't styles,
there's no way.
But don't styles make...
They do, but to a certain point. They do when it's a 5-pound difference. They do when it's a 10-pound difference. That's when a 30-pound difference. No, it doesn't.
Do you think Woodley would be able to touch Conor with his right?
Woodley would knock him out. Woodley would knock him out. Conor would be tagging him, but I think Woodley would be like the Terminator, and he's just walking through these shots, and he's going to clip him with something. If not clip him, he's going to take him down because Woodley has such strong wrestling in his arsenal. And I think we've seen that's kind of the blueprint that's coming out to beat Conor, is to get him in the ground, because we know he's not good on the ground. On the feet, he's a savant. He's legit. But on the ground, it's where he has a lot of trouble. And that's one of Woodley's strong points, is his wrestling and be able to take someone on the ground. But I don't like that matchup because of that 30-pound weight difference that we would see during the fight. And I think Woodley would just walk through all these punches. You got a guy that you outweigh by 30 pounds. That makes a big difference in fights. And here's the other thing. He is a little guy. Conor is. So you would think his cardio would be very, very good. With Nate in both fights, he struggled. The smaller guy was gassing out against the bigger guy because weight had a factor, of course. When you get punched, it makes you fatigued as well.
But
so those are two things.
Is that a fair assessment? Because Woodley isn't known for having the best cardio. He even said himself he gassed out in that 4th round after he couldn't get the guillotine.
It is, but then again, these little guys, you see little guys in all combat sports, they have the best gas tanks. They don't gas out. They're just punching machines. That's what they're known for. And you see a guy who's supposed to be a little guy, 145, 155. He goes to 170, and he starts tiring out at the end of the 2nd round. So it makes you wonder, hey, wait a second. That doesn't seem right. You're a guy coming from the lower weight classes, moving up. Your cardio should be more on point with someone that's able to go 5 rounds at a crazy pace, and it wasn't that. And I think it was a combination. The first fight he got hurt, and that sucks the wind out of you. In the second fight, you have a bigger guy that's imposing his will on you, throwing those shots, and you're used to getting shots from a guy who's 55 pounds, 60 pounds, and now you're getting a guy at 170 throwing those punches. It sucks the life out of you. It drains you.
That's actually an interesting assessment. I would say
it's like
that,
you if you were to fight a guy that outweighed you 30 pounds, and you're fighting him, and it's going 5, 6, 7, 8 minutes, his size is going to play a huge factor in that.
Well, we could talk about the heavyweight division where we see guys that have a 30-pound difference there, and it doesn't seem to make that big of a deal.
But those are heavyweights, though,
like
man.
if someone's 230 and someone's 260, you see these fights all the time.
But those guys gas because they're heavyweights. The only heavyweight that I've seen that doesn't gas consistently has been Kane. He's the only heavyweight that I could think of off the top of my head that doesn't gas. Even Fedor, older Fedor would gas.
Stipe went 5 rounds,
but not at the pace that Kane does. No one has that pace.
Not at the high level.
Yeah.
Well, so let me ask you your thoughts on how did you score the Wonder Boy and Woodley fight in the end? Did you have it a draw?
No, I had Woodley winning.
You did?
I thought Woodley won that fight.
How did you score it?
I think I had it 3-2.
So you had a 3-2 for Woodley then?
3-2, but that one round could have been a 10-8.
I had that round 10-8.
And a lot of judges didn't score. Only one judge had a 10-8, I think.
Yeah.
So like that kind of blows my mind. I think there's still not a uniform thing on what constitutes a 10-8 round with these judges. I think that, it's different. In boxing, a 10-8, you score a knockdown, it's a 10-8 round. In MMA, there's no knockdown, so it's a little bit different. I see it as you're on the brink of getting knocked out or submitted. It should be a 10-8. It should be something where you leave that round and you think, dude, that fight, it could have been stopped in that round. Like,
right.
You got your ass kicked that round. That's a 10-8 to me. But who knows what they're telling these judges on the criteria of what constitutes a 10-8. But he should have gotten a 10-8 on all the judges for that round, and I think he should have won the fight.